Am I live? I don't know. Hey, what's up, guys? Hang on, I am trying to figure out some settings. Oh, there we go. Okay, hang on. God, that was loud. What's up, chatter? Hopefully this is live. I'm not sure. Alex, what's up? Supernatural, welcome. Oh, there we go. Now I can see you guys. So I don't know what they're going to be doing. They're just going to be talking about some new zombies information. So I was like, well, just do facecam and say hi, because I never do. So, and they're going to probably be talking about Dead of the Night Gauntlet. So, what's up, No Thumbs? Hey. So what we have, 9 seconds. Hopefully it's loud enough. Yeah, that's gonna be super loud. Oh, here we go. Okay, a little intro. What's up, Eugene? I did not watch the movie, Avengers movie. I probably won't.
Spectre
Okay,
on
with
site.
spoilers.
Studio transmission incoming. No words.
I agree. We just want to see
No
zombies.
warning.
And some information about Blackout would be cool. They're gonna show some new stuff on Blackout. Let me know if you guys can hear
Just
me okay.
carnage.
Hey, what's up, Serial?
Let's get this done.
MC Thunder. Well, I'm gonna be doing a Borderlands event on Wednesday,
Says they're going live.
where it's like the reveal event, so of the
Lights out.
gameplay. So I was like, I'll just do face cam and let you guys know.
Seraph
And
liquidated.
I needed to set up my face cam anyways. I thought, oh, I'll just do this.
Everybody cover.
Launching hawk.
Wet works on
Is it hard to
site.
hear me? Yeah, 'cause that is like super loud.
Moving to flank.
What's up, Bungo?
Going loud.
They may defend against a single blade.
No,
Against the
I've
flood?
been sick,
Not
and so
so
that's why I
much.
haven't been doing face cam, and I'm starting to get my health back, so I can't do face cam. Oh, the clip audio? Is this a new trailer? I'm not even paying attention.
Supply drop incoming.
Stefan Snooks, what's up?
You know me. I don't like anyone.
He's wearing an oxygen tank. Thank you, Big Head. Yeah, I've been working really hard, like
Spectre reporting.
doing everything I possibly
Contract
can, so
complete.
it's working.
Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm John Raffis, and welcome to Treyarch. Tomorrow marks the end of entertaining our inner heist fantasy and the beginning of unleashing our inner assassins with the beginning of Operation Spectre Rising, first on PlayStation.
Can you guys hear that?
So, So earlier today, at the top of the show, you saw the official gameplay trailer for Operation Spectre Rising. As we speak, my colleagues Foxy and Ben are pushing the buttons of their magical social media machine to take a Treyarch blog post live that shares this. There's a roadmap that outlines what is happening during Operation Spectre Rising this week, and featuring the rest of the content we aim to take live throughout the rest of the operation. And there's a lot to cover. A lot across multiplayer, blackout, zombies, new content coming to the black market,
Hopefully
as well
we'll
as
see
Call of
Jason
Duty Days of Summer.
today.
So to kick things off and help us dive into all things multiplayer, we are joined today by Miles Leslie, producer, Matt Schrantz, senior game designer. How you doing, guys?
Great, how are you? Here, John.
All right. So a lot to cover. Operation Spectre Rising clearly revolves around Spectre.
I think.
That was the one.
Not
That was
sure.
the one.
Yeah.
So why don't we start there? Tell us about Spectre and the debut in Black Ops 4.
So Spectre's back. We took a look at Spectre's kit, kind of honed in on what made Spectre special, which is that really awesome melee specialist. And we said, what can we do to make that just a even more amazing experience? And we came away with creating a fully third-person experience for Spectre's special weaponry, which is the Shadow Blade. The Shadow Blade allows Spectre to, like I said, go into full third person. While your Shadow Blade is out, you also have access to, you will not be able to go prone or change stances, but when you do press the change stance button, you'll be able to perform a really awesome multi-directional roll, which is a ton of fun, and pairs really well with the Shadow Blade melee weapon, because when you bring a knife to a gunfight, it's, not always advised, but with the Shadow Blade and pairing with the multi-directional roll, you're going to be able to pull off some really badass maneuvers and dodge some bullets and hopefully go in for the kill.
Well, and to demonstrate that multi-directional roll, you brought Miles with you today.
I did. Let's see it.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Does this? How much does this stage support?
Clear the room. Clear the room.
So with the Shadow Blade, with the smoke grenade, because there's some interesting elements to how Spectre uses that grenade. When it comes to that third-person point of view, how did that impact design? Like, how did the team approach this, both in terms of design for the specialist, in terms of thinking about how that plays well in maps and plays well with others? Tell us about that design journey.
Well, third person creates some obvious visibility benefits, and we embrace that. So you're going to be able to kind of, as you make your way around the map, you're going to have a wider field of view just to be able to see your surroundings. You mentioned Spectre's smoke grenade, so that is Spectre's special issue equipment, and it's not just any smoke grenade. We took a look at the smoke grenade, and traditionally that's going to impact enemy and friendly visibility. So in looking at how to deal with that on the Spectre side, Spectre will have the unique ability to see both teammates and enemies who are inside of that smoke grenade. Enemies will be highlighted in kind of a white, while friendlies will be highlighted with a blue. So you want to pair that with your Shadow Blade to be able to block off the lines of sight for your enemies, and then use that and maneuver around to enter that smoke and use the Shadow Blade to take out those enemies.
The comboing is pretty interesting now, right? As you play like hardpoint or control or domination, is if you can combo where you're throwing the smoke and you get in there with the blade and you just start cutting people down, like Matt said, you feel like that badass, but it also is really scary when that smoke comes now out, because you're like, okay, Spectre's out, what do I need to do here? How do I counter this? So it has a change to how you play for Spectre, but also how the team responds as well, which has a huge impact across all the maps in terms of how they play and how to approach those things if Spectre's out on the map.
Since we're talking about the Shadow Blade and the smoke grenade, probably a good opportunity to kind of pivot and talk about some of the new weapons in the mix. New melee weapon, new LMG.
Yes.
In the mix.
Yes, absolutely. So the new LMG is the Tiger Shark. It's kind of a more agile LMG, super fun to use. So someone like myself who I'm traditionally a run and gunner, I don't mind using the Tiger Shark because it allows me to stay with that run and gun play style. Like I said, it's a bit more agile. It's got I think the fastest reload speed of all of our LMGs. So we'll be able to use that in kind of a new role for LMGs. And that's just been a ton of fun. And then the melee weapon, which I believe, I'm going to mess this up.
Do it.
Nifo Oti, I believe. I don't
Close enough.
Close? Okay. It's a melee weapon, a club. It looks badass. It's a lethal melee weapon. I've also had a ton of fun using that bad boy, going around and making our fellow developers squill in excitement, I guess you could say.
Nice. There's a story there. We'll save that for another time. All right. Well, we'll have a couple new multiplayer maps that come into the fold as well. Before we get there, though, because we'll sort of walk through each one. The end of this week, if I'm not mistaken, Prop Hunt makes a return.
Yes.
Goes live.
Prop Hunt.
Oh my God.
Again, one of our favorite game modes. We've brought it back bigger and better than ever
I
for
feel like
Black
shook
Ops
my whole
4.
desk.
There you can see
Excited.
Live out all of your fantasies as random
That's
things.
actually Miles,
Yeah.
the trash
World War
can.
II had the
I
best
actually
prop
have a
hunts.
costume at home.
They,
where I
it was just so good.
try to become the trash can,
BO3
so.
was okay.
Yeah, so
but I'm
Prop
down
Hunt,
for
if you don't know what
BO4.
it is, and you've been living under or as a rock, I don't know.
I see what you
This is, we have to deal with this all day. It's the puns on top of puns.
Pits a team of hunters
Yeah.
against a team of props. And then each map will have their own specific prop set to cycle through. As a prop, you will be able to change between props if you spawn in and you don't necessarily think you can hide as the one you've been given. You'll be able to do that a couple times. You'll be able to lay down decoys. And then to kind of help
some
with
glitches.
the hunters, every 20 seconds the
Glitching
props
some
will whistle
walls.
in the world. So you want to crank your headphones up and listen for that whistle.
Yeah.
What's your
and
favorite prop?
My favorite prop.
I don't know anything
Going
about
off
the
script.
multiplayer maps.
Well, it's fine.
We're not, there is no script.
I have always wanted to be a palm tree
Yeah?
since a young boy.
No, that's cool.
So it's fun to be able to live out my fantasy.
The
as a
best is
palm
with
tree.
these
Look at
guys
some
are
top
picking
hat
this
on
stuff in
zombies.
militia. You can be the bear, right? So
Yes.
there's like a stuffed bear, and so you get to just run around as the bear,
That's excellent.
which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So-
it's the people that have played the maps a lot and have put their time in are definitely going to have the advantage there because you're going to look at that bear and say, hey,
Wait, yeah. Why is the bear in the middle of the forest?
why
Hold on a
is
second
the
here.
bear capturing B down?
What I appreciate here is just the amount of enthusiasm for Prop Hunt. I mean, to the point that I think I'm going to call some people and try to get you
They
guys to
just need,
start
they
your own
better
Prop
leave
Hunt
it in
video.
permanently.
Let's do it.
and
We already
just
have
don't
everything
take
we
it
need.
out.
The playtests I've for Prop Hunt internally in the studio, I think have elicited the most laughs that
They
I've
took
heard.
it out
coming
on
from
Black
Over
Ops
the top.
3, I think. I'm not sure.
It's just super fun.
Before we move on to the maps, one note that I kind of took out of order is, and something that we saw in the video, is the return of the ballistic knife. Coming later.
Yes, yeah. Ballistic knife, melee / long range
I hope they
weapon
give some
that you
good zombie
can hit a button
information and not
and
just
fire off
Gauntlet
that
stuff.
projectile.
That doesn't sound too exciting.
Yes, it is back, and we'll
me.
try to have some cool stuff planned for that guy as well.
Cool. All right, so let's move on to the maps. We've got a couple maps coming online here, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we've got Masquerade lined up first. And Miles, if you could tell us a little bit about what's going on in the world of Masquerade.
What's
Yeah,
up,
for sure. So we've
Michigan?
got 3 brand new maps in this, in Spectre Rising, which is different than the 2 we've had before. And we really wanted to look at the portfolio of maps that we've been delivering, and we've constantly been pushing ourselves
It
to
was
really
removed.
deliver
Yeah,
some
that sucks.
really unique experiences,
World
both
War II
visually and
kept it.
gameplay-wise. So talking about Masquerade, which we're looking at some gameplay here, we really wanted to smash together this idea of this colorful parade float that's going on, and
fractions,
it's actually
yeah,
being used
John Wick, that's
to
right.
smash and crack open this U.S. embassy. So this takes place in Bangladesh, India, so you get this contrast of the
In brief
outside
mode, we
world
need
and this
brief
compound
mode.
that is the U.S. embassy. So it has really high, cool visuals, a lot of colorful things, but you actually get to engage with the floats. So you can get on a bunch of them, like there's a huge boat that has a shark with a shark captain on it, which is pretty fun. And you're using these in really interesting ways that you haven't been able to, is actually engage with the environment. And the map has
What's up, Deborah?
very separated lines when you're in the embassy and out of the embassy, which is really awesome because the outside street area leading up to the floats is more cat and mouse, and then you've got this contrast of this long street that's wide open, so there's danger,
DLC
but you can
3.
use the floats in creative ways.
Maybe
Getting
we'll
to
get
what
a
we're
sneak
calling the VIP
peek or a
building in
hint.
front of the embassy, and if you lock that down, you're going to have a clear advantage. And we really wanted to see and push ourselves to say,
We're
look,
looking
if
at
we just
June
say
for
this is a
DLC
power
3,
position
though.
and you want to go get it, what a gameplay does that drive? And what we found is it adds more interest. It drives that more engagement in terms of internally, look, hey, I want to go take that building. How do I take it? I want to get around this street. I want to use this float in really creative ways. And then how do I use that equipment to make that stuff happen?
That was a lot of fun. Sorry to jump in, but on kind of my team's side of when we go through and say, where do we want the hard points to be? Where do we want the domination zones to be? Because like Miles said, it's a very different map to where you have these really distinct power positions. You have these lanes that kind of close and open in interesting ways. So that was a lot of fun for us to go through and play test and find what worked the best for this kind of new setup.
Yeah, this is all about, we really wanted to push where people, there's a clear advantage, right? You get into these windows that we're looking at here that overlook the embassy, the VIP building, and drive people to want to take these, right? You can still run and gun, but if you're going to be smart and try to use the equipment and everything that you've got in your arsenal, you're going to be able to lock down these different zones, and that was really compelling to us, on top of trying to use the environment even more.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, the Spectre brings something kind of so unique to the fray. How, if at all, did that impact any thinking around any of the new maps?
We've really been challenged as a studio and to wrap our minds around the operation themes. And we're talking about Spectre, who is world-class assassin, is how do you do that theming across the maps? And it's easier in some and harder than others, but it's always this layer of, you know, what are the cool things that can influence us? And for us, we really had this interesting idea of, you know, elite assassins have hijacked these floats and they're using as batting rams and they're cracking open this embassy, and it has that layer of it's fun, right? But also a serious tone of they are trying to attack this embassy in some interesting and new ways that we haven't done before.
Oh my God, you remember that?
Sure.
That's funny.
All right. Map number 2, Artifact.
Number 2, Artifact, yeah. So Artifact is another super fun map. Once the gameplay comes up, you guys will see. So this was super fun for us because we started with this idea, and this contrasts to Masquerade, where we talked about platforming. We really wanted to have a platforming experience, and when I say platforming, it's really about being able to choose and jumping from different actual platforms, high and low. We wanted to create a sandbox of this, and going to Iceland where this takes place, and you've got this mashing of this beautiful landscape together with the green and the volcanic rock and the ice and the snow, allowed us to really embrace that. And this map has so many decisions. You can make so many quick decisions, going high, going low, jumping over enemies, getting behind enemies in really creative ways. It plays very, very different than any of the other maps because of those choices.
Well, it seems like when you talk about elevations, it continues to build upon some of the ideas that you had in Operation Grand Heights.
Absolutely. As we keep pushing ourselves, and we know we're onto something when we're playtesting, and it was like that felt very uncomfortable because it was different. Right? Like you can't have 3 platforms that you've jumped on to get over someone because we haven't done that. And the answer is, well, actually, we have to do that, right? Like, we have to challenge ourselves more so than we have to try to bring something to the community. And we're excited to see how people respond to that, right? And what do they like, what do they not like? Because we are monitoring these things, and that's influencing where we should go and also what we should and should not do. But this map's super fun. It's also got some fun things. There's a working geyser. So there's geysers that actually go off during the match, and if you get stuck in them, you'll go hurling up in the sky, ragdolling, which is awesome. It also has a one-way ice slide. So this ice cave most of the map is pretty open with the platforming. The ice cave is pretty close quarters, and it has a lot of different flanks, but there's a way to use a one-way ice slide to get behind enemies,
BO2 and BO3
which is pretty cool because you have to commit. So it's all about, this map's about making decisions and committing to those decisions, and then try to, change lanes quickly and pass as fast as you can with the platform.
When it comes to design meetings, walk me through, like, what does the geyser idea sound like? How does that come up? How does that happen?
Like anything, it is, wouldn't it be cool, right?
Wouldn't it be cool?
It's literally how it starts, is we're in this landscape, and the team has done such an amazing job where they are crafting these things. Man, it would be so cool if.
I do
and
bodybuilding
when you hear these things and you see how excited the team is, you're like, we have to do that, right? Like, let's put geysers in this. Like, that just makes sense. And you quickly prototype it, and you find out that it's fun, and you just iterate from there. And it's the same thing with the slide. Man, it'd be so cool if you could do this. Well, you know what? Let's do that, right? Let's embrace that feeling. And that's really allowed us to step out of our comfort zone and get out of the sort of guidelines and foundation that we've got to build on these maps.
The thing about this map that I always...
There's the guys right there.
This is really satisfying, the lethal bidet. In playtesting, I've found that this map more so than maybe any other is,
Cereal,
and you can even see it here in the gameplay, is you can really play with any style that you want and be successful at it. It just comes down to those decisions that Miles mentioned. So if you're a sniper, you're going to be able to find that optimal path that will allow you to be successful as a sniper. If you're running a KN57, you're going to be able to find that path that helps you optimize that. Or if you're running, you happen to get the NIFO OT melee weapon, you're going to be able to do that as Jarrett in our playtest does with his melee weapon.
Yeah, I want to call out Jarrett specifically, who is a master at sneaking up behind you and knifing you.
Yeah.
And then after you respawn, will then snipe you. So really been...
Just both sides.
Yeah, just both sides you get it from Jarrett. So thanks, Jarrett.
Thank you, Jarrett.
Thank you. You've crafted me in the pits of hell. But to go real quick back to the theming of the assassination, the map's called Artifact, and what it is this archaeological group has actually been hired to find a zombie artifact. They don't know that it's a zombie artifact, they're just finding an artifact. It's actually the Odin statue from one of the zombie maps, which is really cool. And they start digging it out, but since the zombie artifacts obviously have, unearthly powers, some bad dudes try to stop them and assassinate them and wipe them out to steal it. A little Indiana Jones inspired, it's sort of treasure hunted. It's kind of the idea, which is pretty cool.
I like it.
So then there is a third map in the mix. It is a reimagining of a fan favorite, WMD.
Yeah, so WMD is awesome. We really started to look at the portfolio and what we wanted to give back to fans, and this is another one where we could give more across the portfolio. So we still have the two brand new experiences, but WMD, because it's so old in terms of BO1, it still plays very different and it has its own foundation. This map's about insane verticality and just complexity overall. So when we were looking at it, it complemented the openness and decisions of Artifact, the dichotomy between the embassy and the streets and Masquerade, and gave something new. We really wanted to lean in feeling cold, that your teeth would be chattering if you're in the Russian hidden laboratories that are cooking the Nova 6. But it's really fun because it's brought back a lot of memories for some of the team that was still playing, and seeing the new team members that didn't work on the original having a lot of fun on it and how it plays so different was pretty cool. We really wanted to lean into that insane verticality overall, because you've got the gantry in the back area, all the different catwalks and roofs you can get on. There's a lot of outsmarting you can try to do, packed so close together that you feel like you can really, really outsmart enemies more so than you may have been able to do in some of the other maps that are bigger and wider and have those decisions spread out. There's a lot of decisions to be made in here.
As we kind of wind down sort of the multiplayer portion, what are you guys most excited about? Personally, what are you most excited about in terms of Operation Spectre Rising? What are you looking forward to most?
Being a palm tree.
Boyhood dream.
Yeah.
No, I get
palm
that.
tree
I
is
get
going to
that.
be a model.
No.
And a bear?
That's a hard one. I absolutely love prop hunt. I got to go with playing a Spectre.
They're going to have it on.
I really enjoy that close range gameplay, and it just feels. I wanted to curse there. I'm not going to. It feels amazing, John, to just roll through and slash people, and just to hear their overjoy through death chat.
Revenge.
That's my favorite. Spectre, playing a Spectre in where we allow you to play a Spectre. It's just a blast.
For me, it's these maps really, I live and breathe the maps, and really trying to push ourselves in the team and that really responded is I want to see how the community responds to these maps, how they're playing them. It even goes to some of the alt maps. We had Arsenal Sandstorm come out during the previous operation. We're going to have some more come in this. We are listening to the feedback, and we're really trying to change things to be more interesting and to be more fun. So the feedback is great, the constructive, positive feedback from the community that we want to lean into. But that's what I'm excited about, is how do people play this, right? How are they feeling about it? What are the things that we didn't experience that people experience? And really seeing all of that will be sort of the big thing for me and the team. So,
does WMD have the paths, the RCX?
It does have an RCX, sneaky RCX path. Yeah. It's also got some. It's got some other stuff too.
I was about to post a Reddit thread.
No Reddit threads just yet, hopefully. So it's got some other surprises too.
Cool.
They haven't talked about
guys,
zombies
thank you
yet.
very much for coming by.
Thanks, John.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
I guess
John.
we're going to see Jason.
Next, we will be moving on to Zombies with our lead writer, Craig Houston, and expert game designer, Mark Mastis. Before we do that, though, wanted to give you a sneak preview inside what we are planning on the Declassified front next. As you know, over the last couple months, we've rolled out a video documentary series called Declassified. And we have taken a look at the ballistics of Blackout. We've taken a look at the history of Nuketown. We've looked at how a story is told through sound with our audio team. Next up, the effects team. Now, in the next couple of weeks, we will release the full-length video documentary piece. However, this is a preview that takes a look inside of what the FX team does. When you talk about everything from sparks to fire to smoke to weather and dust particles, this is a team that brings those living, breathing elements into the game world.
If I'm doing
to make,
facecam, then I'm doing
make it
pretty
feel
good.
alive and make the gameplay environment feel, well, like there's motion. Here is a sneak peek into our next Declassified FX.
When you talk about real-time effects, the effects
is
are
cutting into
built
my
to
workout,
be
though.
seen
We'll just
in
say
a
that.
video game and in real time, in comparison to a film where you're really looking at the effect from one perspective.
So some of the challenges that we're faced with as real-time effects artists is how do you construct effects knowing ahead of time that you can't account for all the situations that could occur. You need to be really smart in your processes and the management of your particle system.
When I'm working on an effect, I'm looking at it from all different kind of angles. I'm also understanding the context in which it'll be used. So we have a working level. And within that test level, we have different lighting states. So I would have to build an effect and look at it in that lighting state to know, okay, does this hold up? We have to make sure that we're building them in a way that will respond to different lighting conditions.
And that is a sneak peek at Declassified FX coming soon in the next couple of weeks. We will keep you posted. Next up, zombies. So while our last Zombies experience, Ancient Evil, was released a few weeks ago, we won't have a full experience yet for a little while, but that doesn't mean that the Zombies team isn't hard at work on a couple updates. With that, we have our lead writer, Craig Houston, and expert game designer, Mark Maestas, joining us to talk a little bit about what's in store on the Zombies front during this Operation Spectre Rising window. Mark, new to the stream, welcome. Is it everything that you dreamed it would be?
Yeah, I can feel all the adrenaline just surging into me right now.
That's weird. That's what it feels like when I soil myself. That's just it could be one or the other. A little column A, a little column B. You know.
I mean, Mark's been working on Zombies, pretty much since the beginning. The beginning. So he's used to living with oppressive, scary atmospheres. So he should be right at home.
Well, actually, as new guy to the stream, who are you? What is it that you say you do here?
What do I do here? I'm a designer. I've been working on campaign and zombies most of my career here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's.
Mark really sells himself short. Amongst other things, Mark is one of the people that should actually got a lot of credit for things like the alchemical language that we had in the Chaos story, which was, took a smarter brain than mine to work it out. So that falls under narrative, but that was Mark.
All right. Well, let's dive into some of the new Zombies features that we'll see during Operation Spectre Rising. First, let's start with the Super Blood Wolf Moon Gauntlet.
Can you say that again?
Super Blood Wolf Moon Gauntlet.
Love that.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about this Gauntlet experience.
Well, this Gauntlet, I mean, we always try to make things that are new and challenging and interesting. And, this one's going to test your knowledge of quests, and it's going to be kind of like the phases of the moon. You'll be waxing and waning in power.
I've been doing that my whole career. I mean, it's shooting pool balls. I mean, that's pretty out there. Obviously, it's built around the Dead of the Night map, which is one of my personal favourites visually. With the mythical creatures and things that you've got in there. The Gauntlet really let Mark and his guys kind of play with those features in a very different way.
New challenge.
Yes.
Taking it up a notch.
Yes.
All right. Well, there's also an update with the Classic Elixir restock. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Just speed it up.
Yeah. So one thing we found is that when you didn't have many elixirs to use, like of a particular kind, you tended not to use them because you're afraid of running out, and then you have an empty slot that's not doing anything. So it's a nice little bonus feature that if you run out, it will replace it with a random classic elixir. And this can happen too, like if you forget to change them out between games, and then you go into the game, you'll have something there, and it won't be just empty.
All right.
Oh, he means that you completely run
And
out. not
rumor
like
has
it's-
it the Tiger Shark LMG makes an appearance in the mystery box.
Yes.
So that's coming up, and then Winter's Whale improvements.
Yes.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, you know, Winter's Whale was at the top of the list to be looked at for improvements. And you know, we took a look at it, and we really tried to rethink about, you know, how it works and how to solve some of the issues that occur with it. Like, you know, you're running around, and a zombie just randomly swipes you, and then just it procs, and then you're just out of charges for a long time. So what we did is we changed it so that you only proc when you get hit if you're injured. So if you're not at full health and you get hit,
Google that.
it'll proc. So it's like, hey, you need it now because something's already hit you, as opposed to like the random one-off. And also, you recharge at the end of a round and when you get max ammo. And also, we looked at the recharge times, and it was pretty abysmal. So we changed it so that...
Get off the fence. Tell us what you really think.
So it charges like once. You get one charge every 60 seconds. So I think it's a pretty good upgrade.
All right.
That's actually good.
Also on the roadmap, we're looking ahead to the Labors of Hercules Gauntlet.
Labors of Hercules. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, Ancient Evil's not that long been out in the community. It's been a real pleasure to see how well that went down. It's one that we're all very proud of. So a gauntlet for it, I mean, Labours of Hercules. There's been some discussion over how to spell labours, I've noticed on some of these things. That's the kind of British-American fight going on. But I don't know if we wanted to tease too much about that one yet, but it's a coming down the road. This has been one of the fun things to do with every one of these maps, is to introduce a gauntlet.
But that's not really the end of the Gauntlet conversation. There's the hard mode Gauntlet as well.
Yeah, just for me.
Just for you.
Especially just for me, because besides making myself physically sick doing the Helcatraz one where the controls are reversed because I suffer quite badly from motion sickness, people thought it would be a good idea. Let's make them even harder and test them on Craig.
Outstanding. So over the next couple of weeks during Spectre Rising, in terms of like what's going to be rolling out on the Zombies front, what are you guys most interested in having fans sort of get to experience?
There's so many things. I can't. It's hard to talk about one thing.
Make it a couple.
Okay. Well, there's a few other little tweaks we've made to Dead of the Night, and that one is
the nosy fart tooth. Sorry, that's.
Make the werewolves special rounds only?
Yeah. Sure.
They have been
vampires
adjusted,
special
shall we
rounds
say.
only.
Yeah,
would
the
be perfect.
you know, we got a lot of feedback about the difficulty of the map, so we've made some adjustments.
Oh my God, that is so
we
good.
made the werewolves appear less frequently.
Yes.
Nosferatu's their spawn rate is reduced quite significantly, and
thank God.
also
That might revive
it used to be that when you got the Sentinel artifact, the zombies would start running because, you know, we thought, hey, you know, all the doors open, there's so much space to cover.
Save a zombie,
they need to run so that they can get
That's
to
what
you.
we need.
But then, you know, we also have a lot of kind of defend type objectives, so that just made those objectives more difficult than they should have been. So we just got rid of that bit, and it's a lot nicer from the start until you get to PAP.
We're always balancing. Always.
I'm taking notes.
Then there's also adjustments to the magic box. So now, you know, we keep adding so many weapons, it's just filling up the box, and it's hard to get, you know, specific things. So we've taken out some of the wall buys from the box, and also it's kind of messing with the power band of the box a little bit. So we've changed how the probabilities work in getting weapons so that they're more based on the original power bands, and also so you don't get like 3 Essex in a row. You know, we've made it so that the duplicates are reduced quite a bit. So like when you get one, you won't see it again for a little while.
That's good.
Cool.
And one more thing.
Lay it on me.
They're doing good changes. That's awesome.
What was it? Sorry. It's my first
Anywhere
time.
but here.
Please have mercy.
We can save a zombie. We can save a
let's
zombie.
see. It was
Fix it.
magic box. Oh, really important. Camos. Camo kill requirements.
Okay.
So, originally we thought, hey, people will be working on camos, and you get random weapons, and you just work on different ones. But, over time, people want to get certain ones to work on, and that's really difficult. So, by the time you get it, it can be later in the game, and then by the time you finish, you're not getting as many kills for that whole game session as you would have usually gotten. So we just decided to have all of the kill requirements for box-only weapons. So you can get your camos a lot faster now.
Very nice.
All right. Wraps things for zombies.
Almost.
And
Yeah. Well.
scene? Anything else?
Well, I've just got to go and keep working on DLC 3 and 4 to conclude the Ether storyline. So I'm very busy with that, and that's all I'm going to say, John.
No big deal.
Exciting.
No pressure.
Yeah.
All right. Shortly, we will be joined by Mr. David Vonderhaar, and Matt Schrantz will be making a return to the stream to talk all things Blackout. For now, I believe that we've got a little bit of Spectre video for you. Roll to this.
So I like that they're making some changes on Dead of the Night. I'm definitely gonna go check it out, see how good it is. But I really feel like the vampires need to be special rounds, like dogs, then you get a max ammo. And then the wolves need to come like, the Brutus come like every few rounds. That would be like the perfect balance for that map. They're like spamming us, whatever. I'm not nervous at all. Dark hole. Yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot of Prop Hunt.
With the launch of Operation Spectre Rising, there were some pretty ambitious updates to the Blackout map. And here to talk about all that and more on the Blackout front, we've got Studio Design Director David Vonderhaar.
I do want to see this.
And
see if they do anything to Alcatraz.
Matt Schrantz.
Hello again.
Hello!
Back with us.
Matt has a beam that just follows him around everywhere, so we know where he's at.
You're much more energetic than Miles Leslie.
Ah, that guy.
All right, so
I'm having fun already. We haven't even started yet.
Take us into the world. Yeah, so with Operation Spectre Rising, a lot of map updates, and it really kind of plays on sort of the Wet Works assassin theme. And here we go.
Who did this? Whose idea was this? I gotta tell you, man, when they pitched this idea to me, I was like, deep breaths, don't overreact. It'll be fine. Just give it a minute. Give it a minute to sink. And it turned out okay, and it's really crazy. It was a lot of fun, especially tying the narrative to it, right? It was really interesting, all the tech challenges that we learned along the way. I mean, just when it seems like a seemingly simple idea that can go awry. So obviously we blow up the dam.
Zombie trailer. We're not going to get DLC 3 until
swath
June.
of destruction. This is one of my favorite places to drop, so it was very painful for me to acknowledge. The water level's high everywhere, so you can sort of see all the carnage that this causes. Pardon me, bad navigation skills. All the way down, all the way through this whole section, blowing apart bridges. Where did the factory go? Down further?
So with the water coming through the dam, with elements of the map being flooded, talk about
elements. Look at this mess.
Talk about how gameplay has been affected by the flooding.
So I'll give you one, and then I'll let Matt do the other. I mean, the main thing is, like, you have rule sets, you have ideas that have to be enforced about where items are in the world, how far apart those items are from each other, how dense they are in every structure. And when you take water and you just go, there's water everywhere now, all those rules just puff away in a brief flash. And then you have to kind of go back through and figure out how are you going to compensate, right? Because running around in the water is what they, folks are already joking, the splishy splashy. Right, so you have to move all that stuff into positions and where's it going to be now, and how are you going to find the items that you need to survive in these destinations, and all these kinds of questions about what happens, you know, when you're in this kind of environment, moving everything up and off the floor, finding homes for it. So that's just the itemization. I mean, that's just like the core component of the game, right?
Jay,
Already,
just
go ahead and light that one on fire and figure out what to do with it next.
Do you know when prop hunts come
So
in?
talk a little bit about sort of vehicular gameplay. How does that, I mean, because that's one element of how you engage the Blackout universe.
The boats in
Yeah,
particular.
so if you were able to see the gameplay trailer, you probably saw some boats zipping around, for example, the farm area, where traditionally boats do not go. So like Vaughn said, with the, raising the water levels affecting item distribution and item density, that also affects where vehicles can and cannot go.
My computer's taking over by the stream. And I can't
water vehicles
look.
like the boat, you're going to be able to go more places with those. And in some places, you may not be able to go with a wheeled vehicle like a muscle car or ARAV, where you were able to go before. And then on top of just the outside of vehicular gameplay, you're going to be able to hear the splishy splash of the footsteps a little bit better. So there's going to be a lot of things that change with this that you may not be immediately apparent.
Where you want to go and what you want to do and how you want to go about that, which is a really big deal. I thought it was really interesting in this particular case, for this particular vision that the team had on the map, was usually when you put in something like, say, Ghost Town or Hijack, you're like creating a location where people want to land and drop. Here, you're creating a location that some people are going to embrace highly, right? And others are going to be like, I'm not going anywhere near that disaster zone because it's just So that's a really interesting take to like negative design, right? A reverse, like, sort of take this thing and then carve out this spot where certain types of people are going to get pressed to the edges and not be anywhere near this and not want to have to come across it. So the gameplay that this offers is both on both sides. It's not just here's this new location that you want to drop, but here's this whole swath of experience all the way down through the map, right? We haven't done that. We haven't said from here to here, let's change all of that. It's been here's this destination, or here's that destination, or here's these new supporting structures. So it's a different take on how to update the map that, as absurd as it was as an idea, is really interesting in execution and practice.
So I think we all feel that way.
Take us inside some of those sort of design discussions about, especially whenever you talk about sort of the
sword on me.
the randomness of dropping in or the collapse. Because it's like you were talking about how
you don't want to be on the wrong side of the flooding necessarily in a collapse state, or you do because you have the vehicles.
But you said some players might be like, I don't know about that, but
that's
maybe they don't have a choice.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at the map, I mean, I'm not gonna say this thing cuts the map in half, but it almost cuts the map in half. It's close enough, and especially the flooding cuts the map in half. So that flight path, there's just new dynamics to pick, right? If with that flight path in that circumstance, depending on my play style, I'm probably not east and south of the water, right? If I like to be on foot, and I don't like to move around the map a lot. So it's just if you look at sort of all the mechanics that go into this type of game and a battle royale game in general, but Blackout in specific, and you do this kind of thing and you see what kind of impact this has, it's not just my impact in this moment in this area, but the totality of that and how you're going to play to win the game or not, and it's like makes it something special and different. I mean, it's pretty experimental on pretty many levels.
Yeah, right? the psychology of it, which Vaughn was alluding to, of some players may not want to drop in the flooded areas now.
Beard of Doom, I'm looking forward to
areas were perhaps a
about it.
hotter drop before, then the psychology comes in. The players that preferred a more quiet drop on the perimeter may start dropping towards the center of the map where the flood is, because that may wind up being a little safer drop, which is then going to push those hot droppers a little bit further out. So it's going to, like Vaughn said, from the start of the match, it's going to change the dynamic of how.
Yeah, but everybody's going to be upset from talking over them.
Not in a position where it's just deep enough where the certain types of boats can still go over it, but not deep enough where you can't traverse it, right? But it's still water, and it still has the impact that water has on you, especially that we don't generally like to put items on the ground in water that's only, say, yay deep or that.
Darkle,
so you can still, don't be fooled. It's not so much.
Hey, you were in my game, and like you kept getting downed, and like were you crawling over to me? It was like making me move, and I had to end the game because I didn't know what was going on.
When you run into this kind of thing, and then also
I meant to message you about that.
The same goes for players as well, because
Choose. Am I joining you guys on prop hunt tomorrow? Yes, we are going to need a full team.
Too often could be frustrating.
We're going to take over.
The same goes for the players, like with the vehicles. a lot of those flooded areas are just going to be about shin high. You're going to be able to sprint and move through them freely. You will
okay, I
have
say it's going to be fun,
of
but
audio cues giving away your position.
Hopefully it's
They
not
won't
like
pick
I
up
just
dead
play one
silence a
time and
little
I'm
bit more
bored to
often.
death of it.
But same goes for the players.
Vaughn, as you fly around, I know that the team has also been working on Bounty Hunter mode.
I need a sword.
Yes,
I need a sword. I need to show you.
Would have been awesome if.
Where's the sword?
Where's
the sword?
We're running the Bounty Hunter right now.
No, you're not.
You can kick off.
Yeah, here.
You guys are spoiling something with a movie.
What's that? That's not.
I don't think I cared about were Game of Thrones episode 3 spoilers. Holy crap! I think I had anxiety through that whole episode. I was like, who's gonna die? You know?
Spectre's sword, the Shadow Blade, is exclusive to
I had to like breathe and
the
count.
new Blackout game mode Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter.
Can you guys try? Put that off and then see if you can load the game mode.
So, for each operation, we like to have a kind of a operation themed game mode.
Sure.
Obviously, for Spectre Rising,
what
how do we
happened
incorporate
to your queen?
Spectre Shadowblade, and Spectre Smoke
doing it
into
live
Blackout?
All right, let's go. Let's do it live.
You
ready?
Yeah.
I don't know how to sit right.
I don't know what we're doing.
All right.
Okay.
I don't know what you're doing.
We're gonna explain this game mode while the boys try to actually show you the sword from top to bottom.
So, like I said earlier, for multiplayer, Spectre and the Shadowblade, it can be difficult to run around with a melee weapon in multiplayer. Okay.
I don't know.
now
I keep
extrapolate
sliding out of my
that to
chair.
Blackout.
Third person.
Yeah. First problem that
I
we
start
ran
here and
into
I like
is,
end up down
okay,
here.
how do we
What the hell?
encourage players to want to play as Spectre with the Shadowblade in Blackout when there's so many long lines of sight, things like that? So first off, okay, how do we encourage that? Well, we, as with other things that we
It's gonna be a busy week for live streams. We'll probably live stream Prop Hunt tomorrow, and then I'm gonna be live streaming Borderlands gameplay, Borderlands 3 gameplay events on Wednesday, where I'll be doing facecam and like right now,
normal player's
and showing the reveal event
for sprint speed. So I'll kind of take it to the top.
I was supposed to go to LA, but I'm still not 100% well enough to be able to do that. So they said, why don't you just live stream the gameplay reveal event? And I was like, yes,
to let you know that you cannot
absolutely
deploy as Spectre in this game mode. So if you have Spectre selected,
so I'll be here nerding the hell out on
have to
camera.
pick a different,
Get ready.
Specialist or character, because Spectre is the hero of this mode. For starters, it's going to be a quads game mode. You're going to drop in.
I'm glad I didn't live stream facecam
when you wingsuit in,
the reveal, because I was literally jumping up and down. I was like clapping, like total weirdo.
Shadowblade.
It's like, oh my god.
There's going to be roughly 25 Shadowblades in the map at any given time. And you definitely want to
I was doing things
go
like,
to those purple beams and get that Shadowblade as soon as possible, because you're going to be fighting 75 other people for them. Those people cannot have Shadowblades. So inside from the start, the purple beams will be attached to what we're calling Spectre Stash. And that's another way for us to provide some benefits to Spectre to help compensate for this long-range battle space with a melee weapon. So inside Spectre Stash, you're going to find level 3 armor right off the bat. You're going to find the Shadowblade right off the bat.
What?
You're going to find many of the recon and stealth related perks like Dead Silence, Paranoia, Awareness inside Spectre Stash.
Consider me adequately incentivized.
There you go. There you go. So you want to get down, find those purple beans, find Spectre Stash as soon as possible.
Oh, Captain Disaster, anything good from this? Yes.
Transition from
apparently they've lowered the spawn rate of the werewolves and also the Nosferatu, really so we need to go in and check out Dead of the Night and see if it improves it a little bit. It could be a good map if they would just stop spamming the mini bosses at us. Like, that's ridiculous.
You are Spectre with the Shadowblade.
Ancient Evil has like the perfect balance, and I think that's why people like it so much.
You're in third person,
so does Blood of the Dead. Really great balance with just dogs and Brutus.
This kind of fun power attack, third person.
But I think people are complaining enough that they're picking up on it, and they will make the changes if we're loud enough and complain enough.
Mixing and matching is
so
a really
I'm
good
so
example
happy
of what we talk
that.
about. We say, hey, let's just kind of press on our own comfort zones a lot and figure out, right, how do people react to this kind of thing? It's one thing in one limited time mode specific.
I want to go check it out, but I need to go
right? It exists
Do
there, and
my
you'll love it or you
green
won't
smoothie
like that type of
and work
gameplay.
out.
But it's that kind of thing. So sorry, you pick up the sword as Spectre and
you pick up the sword.
He knows what I'm talking about because he's always like, "Hey, let's go do something." I'm like, "I gotta go eat, work out, eat,
The
work
end goal
out."
is to be the last surviving player or team. It's still within those rules of Blackout.
But what
Battle
makes
Royale.
it Bounty Hunter?
So Bounty Hunter is, it's, you know, it actually came from an idea a long time ago from Black Ops 1 even.
Is Zombies going to be Ether story now? Yes, Jesus. Yes, it is. DLC 3 and 4. So June, we're looking at something, and maybe within the next few weeks, start looking for some leaks about possible map name, locations, things like
Spectre
that.
being the assassin, being the hunter.
Because you know people are going to be wanting to know.
So for each collapse, we will select up to 3 targets to mark as a bounty. That can be a Spectre player, it can be a non-Spectre player. They will be the top players.
How do you gauge top players?
You will be, top players are the players with the most kills. So the top 3 players will be marked with a bounty for each collapse. If there are times at the start of the match where a player doesn't have kills or you know there's a tie, then we'll select from, we'll do a coin flip basically. So at all times you will have.
What workout do I do? I do a lot of walking, and then
your goal,
I have been doing kickboxing, but I hurt my shoulder, so I'm trying to chill out from that.
If you are Spectre,
I just do like some stretching and weightlifting and some basic
only
stuff.
Only Spectres can see those. So one of the 25 players with the Shadow Blade will be able to see an objective icon bounty marker over the marked target's heads, and you will want to go.
What maps would you prefer? Zombies Chronicle 2,
if you can manage
Call of the
to take out a
Dead,
bounty
Buried.
target,
I want to
you'll
see
be rewarded
Buried
with a supply drop
remastered
right at your location.
badly.
So you want to hang out for a bit.
And
if
Dire
you are a
Eyes.
marked target, you will also, if you can survive until the next collapse, you will be rewarded with
Hey,
a
what's
supply
up,
drop at
what's
your
up,
location.
FTJ?
Well, it seems like all of these things ladder up to not only
Your dogs live
adequately
more than you,
incentivizing
yeah.
you to go find the Spectre drops, but really kind of sort of
if I ever stop doing
promotes
YouTube
gameplay
zombie
and action
stuff,
around
I'm gonna
those
make a new
points,
channel and do
there's
like
definitely that
fitness,
benefit too.
nutrition,
around 25 new points, which
that kind of
you
stuff.
know, 20, the sword itself will drive not only the primary destination.
I want to do cooking shows.
Locations, that's
Where I like, I eat raw food only, so
and you're using that, then you're seeing
I have a bunch of really
who
good
the
raw
top
food
players are and where they
recipes.
are,
And I
right?
was like, that would be
There's
fun.
a lot of motivation
just
to
like
be
do
involved
raw
with the sword
cooking
gameplay.
shows.
And you can just put the sword down.
You're not really
if you wanna
cooking.
Go back to normal
Whatever.
life, right? Or even just put it
Raw
away and
blending.
pull your gun out. You're not
You use
capped into
blenders
this
and
thing where you
machinery.
only can use the sword. Sure. You pull out the sword to be in third person. So I think the dynamics here will be pretty interesting to find out how people see this in the real world and what they do with it and how they learn from it. You know, it's just one more example of taking an operation, being inspired by its core thematics, and then doing something different, very different with that kind of thing, sort of stretching what Battle Royale really means, which I think is the thing that we've been having maybe the most fun with in the operational seasons.
Yeah, that was a small note that Vaughn mentioned is this actually came from playtesting. Our original goal was you are Spectre, you have the Shadow Blade, and that's it.
We want more people to have fun.
Lifting
right, we want
queen.
people to have fun. We immediately
That's
knew
hilarious.
that being forced just to have a melee weapon in Blackout.
Seriously, I'm
could
gonna go work out
potentially
after
not
this.
be
You guys
fun.
want me to live stream it? I'm
I would argue
kidding.
that
No.
I only use the Shadow Blade when I become Spectre now, just because I see it as a challenge. But in playtesting, we played one iteration where you could pick up a weapon, say an assault rifle, SMG, whatever.
UDP, yeah, right.
And then you can, so if you
I'm
have
gonna make
that
another
secondary
channel.
weapon, you
I'm gonna
can
do
switch from
cat
third
channel.
person Shadow Blade.
Battle Royale, I could just
A
use
raw
my
food
sword.
channel.
Switch to the third person Shadow Blade.
Y'all
and
giving
then
me
you
giving me
switch
some
back
good
to your other
ideas.
weapon, you're going to be back in first person.
The smoothie show.
So you can, if you don't feel up to the challenge.
I mean, there's a lot of like cooking shows out there, but like I make up my own recipes and they're pretty
You can
good.
carry your favorite weapon that you may be able to find on the ground and switch back to that freely.
All right.
It's like the older brother you're glad you never had.
I feel like all my live streams are going to turn into like we're talking about like food nutrition.
Anything else in the
I'll try
Bounty
not to
Hunter
do
front?
that. We'll
Couple
keep it
other things
zombies.
No, I'm sure there'll be gameplay on this from your favorite creator, no doubt, before you wake up. So,
Justin, I have 2 cats.
I'm sorry
too
that we
many.
couldn't show you the sword as a
I'm just
technical
kidding.
glitch here.
They drive me crazy though. They're real needy.
Ground War, fast redeploy, equipment, a couple other updates.
I know we've sold all our time. Okay, Ground War. All right, this one's good. Ready? 50 on 50 in Battle Royale.
Yeah,
in
Nadarox.
That's
yeah.
Ground War. Ground War.
I'm going
is
to teach
not
you guys how to
999
stay
in
young
multiplayer.
forever
Ground
and
War
never age.
For Black Ops 4 and Operation Spectre Rising.
I actually do know how to
this
do that.
mode, as you know it, with 2 teams of 50. So your squad is like a sub-team of a larger team. So half of you can always
I'm like a
win
million
now,
years
right?
old. You guys would never
So
know.
it's playing a 50 on 50 battle royale mode is pretty interesting. It plays a lot like Ground War would, but with a lot of people. You know, there's a lot of incentive to revive people who are on your larger team, not just your squad, right? And then the mechanics of that stuff, like medic and things like that, become a lot more important. You know who's on your team. Friendly fire is disabled because I know you're all griefers and you're going to shoot your teammates. Is that true?
Yeah, that is absolutely true. All of it.
I've missed everything they've been saying.
And it's something special, and we'll probably see that midway through the operation, give or take, right? You know, for what happens kind of in the middle of the operation. It's the plan anyway. Don't quote me. You guys always
Treyarch
beat
did a
me up.
boss rush and zombies like
exactly midway has already like somebody's assigned a date to it. Like it's
young, like
All
you
right.
guys are
Yeah.
so
Well, anything
cute.
else about 50-50?
No, still trying to nail down the details, but it's the baseline is 50,
Oh my God.
50. We've been working hard
You
on.
imagine doing real life glitches.
How do we deal with the infiltration
That's so
pass,
funny.
the initial flight pass? How do we deal
You could
with
like show yourself behind a wall, and then like all these, you could hire your friends to dress up like zombies and like pile up.
your larger team?
Oh my
So,
God, that'd be so
We've been
funny.
working hard on that and having a lot of fun. And can't
You have
wait
to like
put
bust
that one
open
out
a
there.
wall.
As we kind of wrap things up in the blackout front, what are you guys most excited about people getting their hands on during Operation Spectre?
50 versus 50.
Well,
Yeah,
I
that
got
would
to
be
tell you,
good.
I
It'd be a lot
am pretty
faster.
fascinated by how the universe will react to this idea of us blowing up the dam and raising the water level, and the impact that that has, and then, you know, how do you get out of that? Like, you know, I'm fascinated by what happens after that. Like, okay, now that we flooded the map, what does it mean when it's not flooded, and how do you restore it? And so I find the fascinating to like, there's this little bit of storytelling. Hey, Spectre blew up the dam, and then we're, you know, just sort of thinking about that and how that carries us forward, and how we move forward to the, you know, with every operation, there's also an event that we haven't talked about yet, how those two tie together. I mean, we do not make things easy for ourselves.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Operation Spectre Rising out tomorrow, first on PlayStation
Tomorrow,
4.
yay.
Before we wrap
Tomorrow.
today, just wanted to offer a couple thank yous. First, wanted to thank all of our guests today, David, Matt, especially Mark,
Do a
for
food review?
being such a good sport at being
I just
on his
had
first
banana
stream today.
ice cream. I'll
Wanted
can
to
review that.
thank
That
the
was awesome.
studio communications group, Foxy, Ben, Steph. Wanted to thank Tommy on the boards. Wanted to thank Lee Staples for running audio. Wanted to thank Robert Sanchez for all
I
things.
do have a
Just
favorite
really
food. It is
looking
Irish sea moss.
so good
It
back
looks like
there.
an
It's a shame he's
alien
off
from the
camera.
sea.
Rose wanted to thank Jay Purrier. Wanted to send out thanks to Activision PR, Legal, and Social. In particular, a special shout out to Art Services and Jared Castle in Consumer Marketing for having done the Lord's work to get that roadmap done. Took years off his life. About 2 weeks ago, Jared looked like he was like 22. Now it's like, you know, a hard early 70s. Poor guy. But the roadmap is done. That's the kind of sacrifice we're willing to make for you. Also, for those of you in the U.S., don't forget Sunday, May 12th, Mother's
Country
Day.
of Texas.
Take a little moment, thank the woman that brought you into this world and can take you out. Anyway, also to my littlest man, Nico, for his
Chillite,
birthday
just
tomorrow.
Take 2 frozen
got
bananas,
another sort
freeze
of
them,
proper. What?
put them in a blender,
What's the
and
thank
add
yous, Vaughn?
raw
That's what's
cacao
happening.
powder.
That's
and
all
you'll
we
have
got.
The best
Thank you for tuning in to the live
ice
stream.
cream
Enjoy
in the
Operation
world.
Spectre
It's
Rising
low
tomorrow.
Fat, low calorie, some potassium, antioxidants, super good for you. So.
Transmission offline. See you in the shadows.
I should make a channel. It's like food hacks. Okay, well this is over, and let me pause that. So I guess we'll be back tomorrow with some parap hunts, but Wednesday I will be doing the world premiere gameplay event for Borderlands 3. Again, face cam, so you guys can watch me nerd out. So I guess this is over. I appreciate you guys showing up. Looks like they've made some good changes to the elixirs in Dead of the Night. And I'll have this posted if you guys want to watch the playback, or you can watch it on their channel. So I will see you guys tomorrow and Wednesday. See y'all later.